All right, welcome back. We're turning our attention now to the probe that is going on with several agencies now. CIPA, an agency under Humanitarian Affairs, wherein we've got the former minister, Omar Farouk, being invited by the EFCC. We also do have the former, I don't know to call her former now, she's been suspended at the moment for CIPA. And then you also have that allegation being linked to the CBN governors, all of them in the eye of the storm, just facing so many questions from officials, even from Nigerians. Well, this morning we have here with us Mr. Epelle, who is the CEO and founder, TAF Africa. He's also an inclusive development expert. Thank you for coming on. Good morning.
Thank you, Chamberlain, and good morning, Nigerians.
It appears this is so much for several people to take at the same time. It's just coming out almost in reckless abandon, all of these allegations over time concerning what happened in the last government. And this, some of them, at least, came close to some sort of dealings with you on this matter. What do you think of this?
Well, I think, Chamberlain, we have entered the 2004, ushered us into the era of corruption exposure. And this one is very explosive. I think I'd like to take a deep dive from the foundation of Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Because my Bible have never been wrong. It said that when the foundation is faulty, you know, the building can't stand. So I think Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs is one ministry that I know, there may be others, that is not founded based on the acts that every other MDAs are founded. You know, it's a ministry that is established by mere
exigencies.
Pronunciation. The president, former President Buhari pronounced, "Oh, we want this ministry." It was purposeful. It was a ministry that should serve her purpose. But unfortunately, the very first person who headed that ministry, as far as I'm concerned, in my personal opinion, Farouk didn't seem to have a clear-cut direction of what she wanted to do. And so it was a free-for-all. And whenever you don't seem to have a focus on what you want to achieve, this is usually the outcome. And it's painful because all of this money should have gone to the poor and the marginalized members of the society. I think the disability community was not served, you know, effectively served during her tenure.
So what, they were served to some extent? Why use the word effectively?
Well, I would say effectively because you can't write her off completely. I mean, she's human. There may be some aspect that she tried to do well, but by all performance indicators.
So what is it that was not exactly clear when I imagine they reached out to you? So what was shady or not too clear about the entire thing?
Well, it will take me back to the COVID-19 when he put up a purported committee and asked me to chair it. And I gave her my condition. And the condition was, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to serve the community, but I don't want any allowance. I don't want to be paid. And none of my members will be paid. I think that sent a sort of a lightning to her and her entire staff, and that was the end. The very day it was talked about, that was the end of it. And the next time she was on television, live television, saying that, oh, she made me the chairman, but I didn't, I wasn't holding meetings or something like that. But that was not true. I gave my condition, and they didn't give me a word. They didn't give me a letter to say, yes, we're going to stick to that. But that's not where we're going. We're talking about huge sums of money.
So did that committee eventually...
We never sat one day.
Not one day?
Not one day. Not one day. Not under my leadership. There may be other purported,
Do you know if anybody else chaired that committee and went on with different things?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge, and I stand to be corrected, But, it's very painful, painful in the sense that these are huge resources that would have bettered the lives of the most vulnerable in our society. And it's totally, absolutely being mismanaged. The allegation could be true, but it's so staggering. And Chamberlain, the problem is when you have multiplicity of program without direction, this is what you get. Either you become fraudulent or the people around you become fraudulent.
So,
you had things like farmers' money, traders' money, market women money, Empower, and all sorts of program that, as far as I'm concerned, it was more or less like a conduit pipe.
Did you get any documents when you were approached saying, this is your objective, this is what we want to achieve?
No, there was not even terms of reference. It was herself and her team seeing me in the room. I think they wanted to take advantage of the little...
So it wasn't a formal meeting where you were invited to discuss this?
There was a formal meeting, Chamberlain, but seeing me in the room and some of the other members of the community, they said, okay, look, you chair the committee. And I said, no problem, I can do that. And this is, as it relates to the palliative, over $500 million was invested. And I didn't see any members of the community who came to me to say that they benefited from most of the things, especially the cash transfer. The cash transfer was an absolute sham, as far as I'm concerned.
You know, Mr. Kwela, we've had, when this administration came in, there was that news at one time that broke where they said the social register was a mess.
That was our project. And that shouldn't have been.
South Africa for
project? No, that was her project.
Her project.
Yeah, the ministry.
The social register was a mess, and they're going to look at how to rework it, to revisit it and work it out so that it's clearer. I know the current minister is all actually delved into that real deal, but that's not what we're looking at. You started out by saying that this ministry, in your opinion, is like the only ministry without an act backing it. But it was more or less like a special purpose vehicle.
Yes.
So if it's a special purpose vehicle, and you being that you're so interested in
the critical stakeholder,
critical stakeholder, is there something you could have done at that time? Maybe with hindsight, is there something you could have done differently?
One, when you're not in government, you don't have a voice. And when they see you that you're vocal, they avoid you. Throughout our tenure, I didn't have access to her, and I don't know how many.
Just to clarify, were you seeking access to her for your personal gain or what?
For what? For what? Not in this world. For what? What gain? What will she give me? I don't bargain with people who have resources that they can't account for it. So my interest was to get the ministry to work with the community of persons with disability, not even my organization. My interest was to get the ministry to work with the community of persons with disability, and I tried to reach out. I wrote several letters, they never replied me, but that's not the point. It's not about me, it's not about my organization, it's about the community of persons with disability. How well were they served? With all that money, nothing was done. I mean, it's not only the community of persons with disability, the school feeding program was a sham.
Was the community captured in the social register?
The what?
Was the community
captured
in the register?
They tried to do that, but I can tell you it wasn't efficient, it wasn't effective, it wasn't excellent. It was not. And that's why the governors proved somebody like us who were critic of what they were doing right.
So how were they captured into that register, the community?
Well, there were some skeletal survey that they embarked upon. And like I said, the surveys are expensive. They're expensive process. And if you don't invest money into it, if you bring people who are stooges and who are trying to front you, you're going to get a shoddy job. All right? If you look at all the instruments that are available out there, some of them are for free. It is easy to mine data and get accurate data. And they were just playing with money and playing with the program, and nothing concrete and good came out of it. Proof. The governor said that they can't trust the data from the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. That's why the money and the palliatives for the fuel subsidy were given to them, you know. And that also has its own issues, because the same governors turn around and try to use what Federal Ministry of Humanitarian have done. So there's a total, I hope that Betta is listening. There is a need to overhaul that ministry. You know, it's been like a position or a place for scammers. You know, look at what happened in Sudan. You know, all the funds that were injected into that evacuation, let them come out. I think if President Tinubu is serious, let him probe virtually all the ministries and the ministers under Buhari. Why are they afraid to do that? Why are they afraid to do that?
Why do you think they're afraid to do it?
I don't know. Political interest.
No. Why does it come across to you as though they are afraid?
It could be political interest.
No, but I'm asking, no, I'm not saying they are afraid. I'm not validating. I'm asking, why do you think they are afraid?
If they are not, they should have done something better. I mean, how long do you have to wait this long for ministries like Humanitarian? I was one of the people that said it, that this ministry needs to be probed. And several other ministries. Aviation is there. You know, I understand the EFCC has been able to take in or maybe investigating 3 ministries. That's a far cry from the reality.
So, but right now the EFCC has invited the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs.
Well,
disaster management.
And
while she's going to the EFCC to answer questions, she's expected today. She had reached out to them to give her time, so she's expected today. Hopefully we'll get that on the news as well. But while that's happening, you also talked about the current Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. You've had meetings.
Yes, I've met with Ben.
And would you say,
well, a stand-up meeting.
Yeah, based on what you just said earlier about why you should do different. Are you not seeing something different?
I think based on what she's saying, I think she has some very concrete, purposeful sense of direction. If she continues that way, you know. But then she needs to be careful, because if she takes on the same strategy, follow the same process, imbibe on the same principle that her predecessor did, she's going to end up like her.
Let's look at it this way. So she has, for instance, the president has given them all mandate. They all have KPIs and they have to deliver. They give 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year. They have what do you call it, timeline with which to work with. But they say, soldier go, soldier come, barracks day.
Oh, yeah.
The ministers change, but the ministry itself remains, and the civil servants who have been there are still there.
Are still there.
So what do you think will be done differently?
If I am, unfortunately, I'm not, either by color or by pedigree, I'm not better. But if I'm in her shoes, first of all, I would take a deep dive into all the lingering program that she has inherited. Come on. When we're all in school, primary school, secondary school, and I think the university does it, there's always a period of revision. Revise the vision. Go back to the drawing board. It is great leadership tactics to say that this thing is not working, I'm not going to go with it. Scrap it. So there are too many programs that is under humanitarian ministry. Many of them are moribund. Several of them are not effective. If I'm in her shoes, I will take a deep dive and scrutinize all those programs, and see what works and what doesn't work. There are several segments. There are about 6 different parastatals under our ministry. I would do a proper need assessment, a proper strategic focus on all of those people and see what they are doing. Many could be working at cross purposes, and several of them are wasting taxpayers' money. It is very, very sad that my little allowance that I get, I pay tax on it, and yet people are going home and squandering the poor people's taxpayers' money.
These investigations happening is mind-boggling to a lot of people already.
Exactly.
But you then say that these ones are a far cry from reality.
It is.
What makes you say that?
Oh yeah, because there are several others that have not been unaided. What happened to over 500 and something thousand, 500 and something, I think it's 500 and something million dollars that World Bank invested in several, especially the cash transfer. What happened to the purported feed these children
school feeding program?
Yes, that they alleged that they were doing while we were on lockdown. There was no school. There was no school, Chamberlain. This is appalling. It's disgraceful, and yet people like that are walking around freely. I mean, I'm not preempting whatever, let her go there and clear herself. But it is mind-boggling, the kind of figures that are coming. And EFCC confirmed it, that there are more to come. 31.7 billion is a far cry to several other money that was questioned. The Empower money, of course you notice that there was a time that the Empower staff were virtually on strike, saying that they were not paying them when they were claiming they were paying them. I think there was a time that President Buhari openly queried this same woman, on the way and manner she was handling some of the people. And the thing about public servants, this attitude of transferring blame, saying I'm not responsible. I understand that as soon as this broke, they were saying, oh, she left money for Better, and Better is saying, oh, I didn't. I mean, this is crazy. Well, don't we have forensic auditors that can go into some of these people and their personal account and get this money? If we get all the money that these political thieves have stolen from this country, I guarantee you we don't have any need to go for loan. I
think the story was published in August 2020, which was talking about the 500 million that they spent during lockdown. I think it's a cumulative 523.3 million that was spent during coronavirus lockdown.
Exactly.
So you're asking more questions.
Were children in school then? Were children in school? All right. The same way that they were claiming they transferred, cash transferred to persons with disability, I didn't see up to 10 people that received it.
But some received. Did you see some that received?
Well, some said they got. And I don't want to also quote anybody, but it's shrouded in mystery. Some got money, and eventually some people went behind, took some of them, and I'll say it, took some of them from them and gave them half. This is crazy. And crazy people like this should not be in office.
Well, I wonder if those people were willing to come forward and speak that they took half. They only received half.
I'll be more than happy. I'll be more than happy. Well, I can
we'll make that
research
happen.
I can research
and see how we can help the country get to the bottom of all of this matter. Let's bring in Ayo. He's got questions for you as well.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. One of the things that questions that comes to my mind about this issue is, the reference you're making, Emefiele, is that of some form of complicity. In the wake of this administration, particularly at the federal level, there were talks by the governors that the list, the social registers beneficiary list, is faulty. Do you see any kind of complicity with the states? Because the expectation was that for anyone in any part of the country to benefit, they needed to go use a particular list, you know. But from the last we heard, the governors faulted the list, but then they have received some resources from the federal government to distribute to their people. Do you see any form of complicity in all this matter?
It's funny because Ministry of Humanitarian actually did most of the data gathering, which to me wasn't accurately done. I can tell you that because there were instruments, it wasn't very transparent. There were some people that called us from states, they were not captured, you know, and timeline was given that was not realistic, you know. So there's no doubt that the governors faulted it, but also that governor's fault or finding fault in that process has also its political undertone, because it was given as an excuse for them to get the palliative, in my personal opinion. But however, this is what happens when you use quacks, when the methodology is not professional, when the outcome wasn't predicted before you go into it. This is exactly what happens. So you get, when you use quacks in carrying out an assignment, you will get fictitious quack result that lacks integrity. And that's what happens. You know, there's a need to further interrogate all of that process, you know, clean up the register, or if possible, abandon it and start all over again. That's what happened when people come into a genuine project that they would have done with good intention. When you have that myopic tendencies that all you want is for yourself, this is the kind of result you get. You never get. Now, I think also it's important to go back to the books and find out which organization did what. And you can bring in experts and they look at and interrogate what they have done. If it's not professional, get them back to do it at their own cost. That's what professionalism is all about, and we shouldn't neglect that.
It's interesting that you talked about the political undertones to this conversation, Mr. Epelle, because one would expect that since the initiative is coming from the federal government to have a national social register, the states themselves should play a pivotal role. We've had conversations with someone who was deputy director in the office of the social, that's involved with this social program of the federal government. And he talked about the process through which they went through all of these. And he talked about the fact that even though it was a World Bank funded program, it was in the office of the vice president, and they were very, very methodical to the point of going as low as the local government levels and the ward levels to select. And it wasn't they that selected, it was the people in the environment that said this person is poorer than this person, and so consequently they should be on those registers. So I'm wondering what you think we should do. I'm trying to look forward right now. The investigation ongoing, I mean, you've spoken to. Because, okay, maybe I should ask you first of all, do you think that initiative is something that we need now? I mean, having a national social register as opposed to a state social register, so that if there's going to be a monitoring system, it should be at the federal level, but the instrument of intervening in people's lives should be at the state's level.
Exactly. I mean, let's stop playing this dichotomy between state and national. If we do something nationally, states are inclusive. States are referred to as the subnational. So they're part and parcel of it, you know. But let me take you back to history. When this whole process was domiciled in the office of the vice president, then vice president, Professor Yemi, who I know is very thorough and methodical in the way he does his things, you know. They were on stream. They were doing well. Here's where the problem happened. When the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs saw it, again, I can tell you from my personal opinion, a conduit pipe, they took it over without understanding the methodology, without knowing the process, without concrete relationship with those that have been given the job to do. Some of them, they had to sack some people, change them. Of course, when money couldn't exchange hands, they dismissed some of the contractors that were working on this thing, brought in new people, okay? So the ministry did not follow the trajectory. They did not follow the process. They didn't understand the professional methodology that the Office of the Vice President has introduced. Yeah, so Farouk inherited it, took it over, and today is totally messed up. There is a redemption. There's always a redemption. I don't like to talk about problems without a solution. There is a cleanup process that can happen. I mean, with the little meager resources we had, we were able to support INEC to mine data of persons with disability, although it wasn't holistic. And currently we're working on getting a national register of persons with disability. Is a work in progress. So going forward, there's a need to interrogate that registrar. There's a need to look at what works, what didn't work. There's also a need to find funding partners who are willing to support the process and give us something credible, something that we can, that is inclusive, something that we can beat our chest to say, yes, we do have a truly inclusive national register and social register. So it is possible. It is possible.
Do you see
if we are willing to do it, and if the right people?
Yeah. Well, Mr. Emefiele, do you see a situation where politics will be removed totally from that process? Do you see a complete, is it possible to have a completely depoliticized national social investment system in our country?
Nothing is impossible. It is absolutely possible. But let me tell you why it may not work. The politicians have their hands in the pie. They're interested in that number because they know it might pay them politically to have that information. You know, it's important to underscore and underpin here that, listen, data is life. Where in any country, in any program, where you have accurate data, you will have accurate planning, you will have accurate execution, and you will have accurate outcome. It is possible to take politics away from it, but will the politicians allow us to depoliticize this process, which will add to our economy? It will add to our social status. It will add to our political status. It will add to our spiritual status if we know the numbers, and those numbers are disaggregated, and those numbers are accurate and credible. I am ashamed to quote some of the numbers that, they say, persons with disability were 35.5 million. There is no accurate record. We are 31.1 million. There is no accurate record. Quote me on that. The record that they were quoting were something that I think UNESCO or UNICEF did years back. That's not the accurate number, you know. So there's a need to further, don't give up on the process, interrogate it, you understand. Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs better seems to act strategically, you understand. This is when to move strategically. Don't give up on the system. You can correct the rot if you're willing to stand straight.
Mr. Emefiele, the question that Ayo asked, let me piggyback on that one, where he talked about the state, and I know you said we should take out the dichotomy, but we see that the closest government to the people is a local government. Mm-hmm. Then you go up from there. We also know that, or there's news out there that the president, festive period, we talked about it earlier, was going to send the first rice to the locals, and he thought to use the legislators who are closer representing the people. What if these kind of interventions from that ministry are taken from that level. I mean, from local government, even from the representative. Wouldn't that make a difference?
Absolutely.
So what do you think is stopping this or not? And
again, the dishonest, not all politicians are dishonest. Not all politicians are crooked, okay? But there are some crooked people that is looking at a system that can benefit them, and they manipulate it to the barest minimum.
Maybe you say benefit them excessively.
Excessively, exactly. You understand? So okay, Ayo, let me say this, my dear brother. Your channel carried it. I went back to my village because my king has said, oh, you're doing everything in the national unit. I went back to my village, took my little savings, put it in an envelope, and I distributed to all the old women and all that. It was on your, yes, you understand. I'm not saying that to blow my trumpet, but little things at the grassroots can make a difference if truly and really we want to do it. Now tell me, please bring any of those legislators to your show that has pictures, videos of the distribution of rice. Some of them may, but many of them did not. It became a political tool, a tool to further enhance their credibility. Many of them don't have in their constituency, you know. And so I think the earlier this government realized that, hey, we need to take politics away from truly creating an intervention with a social safety net, the better for this government.
All right, so what do you think about this ongoing probe about CBN?
I think Emefiele deserves exactly what he's getting, to be honest with you, because he messed up a lot of financial process and principles as CBN governor. I think, for me, he was the worst CBN governor. And he should be made to refund everything that he has stolen if we prove it in court. Because that's always the case. They say, oh, go to court, you know. But it's appalling.
You know,
and I think the current CBN governor should take note of
in
this.
the last government, remember the back and forth that went on between the then Minister of the Attorney General, Malami, and the then EFCC chair, Magu, about recovered loot, as it were. So should we worry this time about any of these things ending up in the wrong places?
Well, Chamberlain, let me not sound a pessimistic tone. Remember the Abacha loot. Most of them went into COVID intervention and feed the school. They ate all the money, you know.
No, but some of them were supposed to channel towards Lagos-Ibadan Expressway.
Exactly. Have you seen
the bridge in Southeast?
Have you gone? Yes, the bridge. Yes, the bridge has always been in the budget. It's not. It's just to cushion the effect of inflationary trend and all that. But however, the truth is, this president can find true, honest Nigerians that wants to do this work and give Nigerians the result that they deserve. If and only he wants to do it. There are still Nigerians who would stand up for what is right, do what is right, irrespective of whoever is on their way.
All right, so Anko, at that point, Mr. Jake Epelle is the founder, CEO, TAF Africa, also inclusive development expert
and political analyst.
I'm trying to wrap that part.
That's all right. Too much titles entangle sometimes.
Okay, that's why they're asking you for palliatives in the village now. But thank you for coming on. All the best to you.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Congratulations on your movement of time. I think it's very, very good. And thank you, John, for being there for the marginalized. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year to all of you.
Thank you, sir.
As well. So we're back in a moment. Join us again.